Well, hello. I'm back after a very long time. I'm fully aware of it. But today I'm back to talk about a man who has been trending on the internet for a while now. And his actions on a recent podcast, his statements have been pretty viral. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to slightly delve into the comments and the chatter that has been happening about Bryan Johnson and his recent kind of statements on a podcast, if you will. So, to begin with, for those of you who don't have a context to what I'm talking about, Bryan Johnson, the man who kind of advocates don't die and don't kill and things like that. Frankly, I don't fully understand what he means and where it's coming from, but we're going to delve into it slightly to get an understanding about it. But he went on a podcast with Nikhil Kamath and a couple of other people who are into fitness and the business of health, etc. And it was a podcast about longevity. Now, for those of you who don't fully understand it, I don't fully understand it either. What am I talking about? So basically, I watched the entire thing and I was just trying to understand what is it, because I personally am very interested in the business of health and, just health, keeping fit, doing things to keep fit, learning more, what are the new things, etc., etc. And I have to fully admit that up till this point, Bryan Johnson did not really catch my attention. It could be for various reasons. I mean, he's been doing strange things. I mean, I call them strange because that's my perspective. But using his kids, I don't know, white blood cells, etc., and selling his plasma and things like that. I don't know. It's a bit off for me. I don't understand it, but I'm no health professional. And yeah, so he went on a podcast with Nikhil Kamath, and literally not even 10 minutes into the podcast, he kind of stops and he asks for his mask. And very humbly and very politely, he turns to the other members of the podcast and he asks for permission that if it's okay for him to wear his mask. And he gets his mask and he puts on the N95 mask. I'm going to quickly play that bit for you where he does that.
Is it okay if I put a mask on?
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
So he goes and he says, as soon as Nikhil turns to him and he says, Bryan, what do you think about it? About something that they were discussing. He just takes a sigh and then he says, is it okay if I put a mask on? And just to clear the context for everybody, they're all sitting in a 5-star hotel where there are air purifiers, and Bryan is known to kind of carry his air purifier also with him. Correct me if I'm wrong, not fully sure about it. But yeah, that's what he does. And then he does put the mask on, and then he thanks everybody for supporting his emotional needs. That was just a light moment in all of this, where he just admits it that he needed it. And then he said that he was feeling heavy and his lungs feel strange, his eyes water, and he feels that his throat is scratchy. And not just that, he also went on to say that breathing in air, which is around 100, 120 or whatever, is actually really bad, because the particles in the air, when they go into your lungs, they tend to not go away and worsen the health of your lungs, is somewhat what he mentioned on the podcast as well. Now, since then, there's been a lot that has been happening, and Bryan Johnson, I believe, has been closely tracking it as well, because he tweeted very recently and he said that, Indians need to really wake up. What he exactly said was, a firestorm of debate has ignited in India since I walked off a podcast due to the poor air quality. Indians, organize yourself and take action. You will do more to improve India's health by cleaning up the air than curing cancer. I come from a family where my dad has asthma. I, for now at least, don't have any major lung issues, and I hope that I can keep my lungs healthy as well. But yeah, I mean, this entire conversation around air quality and pollution and things like that have been happening in my house for about 10 years or so. And very recently I was discussing it with my dad, where he was like, he wanted to order this device that you just clip on your like a neck chain or something, and you can wear it around your neck, so wherever you go it kind of acts like balancing the ions, and the heavier ions just settle down, helping you breathe cleaner air. But there are no founded medical researches that kind of prove that it's fully effective, if you will. So we were discussing if that's a solution and things like that. But sorry, I digressed there a little. But air pollution and air quality has been a discussion for a lot of us. And I'm in Delhi. So Delhi is obviously, everybody knows, far worse than Bombay is. For the most part, far worse than Bombay is. On a lot of days, probably they're similar, but it's not just Delhi and Bombay. Bangalore kind of is also on the same track. Kolkata air, a lot of times, is pretty bad. Patna and all these cities also tend to have really bad air quality. And even, Delhi NCR, if you go in the outreaches of Delhi as well, the air is pretty bad. However, today, when I'm recording this, which is the 9th of February, Delhi air is doing better. In the morning, it was around 95, which I'm calling better, but whatever. And right now, it's 115. So, yeah, I mean, compared to the other days, of course, it's better, but is it really better? That's the thing. I mean, I just wanted to record this because I had a lot of thoughts about it. Because ever since Bryan Johnson came to India and gave us kind of a reality check, a lot of us have been wondering why our governments, or, why people in policy making positions, etc., have not paid enough attention to air quality when it's literally breathing down our throats in a heavy manner. And we're not really seeing a lot of people talk about it as aggressively as people should be. I mean, even to go on to say that, curing air quality will do better for us than curing cancer, when, of course, our own finance minister on the budget day said that a lot of cancer curing drugs will be brought to India without import duties or some such. But why are we not getting politicians who talk a lot about all of this, Now, is it a privilege for us to talk about air quality? I'm trying to understand it, because to a common man who is out on the streets, just living their day, doing their thing, breathing the kind of air we breathe, at least in cities like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Patna, and all of these cities, it must do a lot of harm, right? But why is it so that we're not seeing more people talk about it? Even on the days when it's really bad, very few, like a handful of people, will actually go ahead and wear a mask, an N95 mask or whatever. But I'm just trying to understand where you guys also stand on this, that what can we really do to have better air quality? What are the reasons for it? Have you fully thought about the kind of damage that bad air quality is doing to us? I just want to read a bit of the comments that were on this podcast on Nikhil Kamath's channel. So somebody commented saying that I, being an Indian living in Mediterranean France, coming back to India during vacation would make my throat burn and give me headaches and fatigue. Interesting. I saw an article and landed in this video that mentioned Bryan Johnson leaving the conversation midway. Johnson wasn't even outdoors. He was wearing a mask inside a studio with an air purifier in Mumbai with an AQI of 130. Good to see that we are at least discussing for the greater good. Interesting. Bryan literally slapped the country's living standards in a billionaire's house. Well, another thing that a lot of people have been saying online is that, it was a bit of an overreaction. Now, of course, we know that Bryan Johnson is probably not the first American who's traveled to India, but I know from my experience when a lot of my friends who live abroad, who come back to Delhi for a holiday or whatever, they do complain about feeling like their eyes are burning and whatever. So I just go on to kind of draw conclusions as to, am I so accustomed to bad air that I'm not feeling it? But of course, there are days when I do feel the hit myself as well. Like, because I was in Delhi this time, I moved back to Delhi from Bombay after a good 6 years or so. And when October hit, which is when the weather kind of starts changing in Delhi, it starts to get a little colder, and the heavier air kind of starts to settle in, which is when we start seeing people complain about air quality getting worse, or more pollution, etc. around the time of Diwali. I did fall sick as well. Like, I was just complaining about not being able to breathe very well. I was coughing, and I did not really have any kind of phlegm coming out, but I was just not okay, because I was just coughing really bad. And then I finally went to the doctor, and he told me that it was just because of the pollution. And I was pretty shocked because I was taking all the precautions. I was even wearing a mask for most parts. But I guess the damage was done by then already, that I was feeling the hit. And then I had to take a little bit of nebulizer, etc. as well, just to clear the congestion out. And I did end up feeling better once I switched on my air purifier, which, by the way, was not as effective in my office because it's a bigger space, and how much can an air purifier change the air in a space like office when it's so bad outside? So in spaces like that, I would still end up feeling a little bad compared to when I was in my room, and after the air purifier had kind of worked the magic for 12 hours or so. So that's from my experience, but I guess there's a lot that needs to be done with respect to figuring out how it can be bettered, and fully just not blaming it on governments also, because I don't know what can be done about crop burning, because it does tend to happen a lot in the winter months. I was here in Delhi around summer as well, which is when the AQI was mostly decent. Like, I've seen AQI of like 12, 14, 20 also in Delhi in the last year. So I'm not going to completely blame it on a lot of the structural or, government issues or whatever. But I feel that because of the crop burning and the air and the weather changes, it does have an effect on the air, at least in Delhi. I don't know about the other cities as much, but I would reckon that weather conditions play a huge role in, just the air constantly moving and feeling fresh. Like, it's been breezy in Delhi for the past 2 days at least, and we're seeing the pollution getting better anyway. So I don't know where I fully stand on it, but I feel like bad air quality is so normalized in India that a lot of us don't even think so much about it until it gets so bad that people are literally just going back and forth to the hospitals and doctors, just trying to figure what is wrong with them. Another interesting comment. I traveled to Noida a while back for just 5 to 6 days, coming from my village, which already has 4 or 5 cement factories around. I thought I was I thought I was used to the bad air quality, but Noida felt suffocating. Working from home, I couldn't escape it. It was in the air, in my lungs, everywhere. Seeing Bryan Johnson ask for a mask on the podcast instantly reminded me of that time. I could completely relate to what he was feeling. We don't often realize how bad air quality is until we actually struggle with breathing. So true. For people bashing Bryan, a perspective from a person who has just moved to the US last year. I was in Mumbai all my life and have traveled across the states in India. I used to perennially sneeze on waking up in the morning and had sore eyes persistently over last 2 years of my stay in Mumbai. I have roamed around in few cities in US including NYC, NJ and Buffalo, and here on an average the AQI stays below 30 and my allergic issues have vanished. We Indians really need to look into the air we breathe and hold both the government and people accountable for it. On the topic of actually holding people accountable for it, I would like to say that around Noida, at least, I have seen so many factories just in the main city areas, also just letting fume off of the factories. That sometimes it's mind-boggling to me that this is still happening right in the midst of the city when air quality is already so bad. And this is something that I noticed when we were in the deep trenches of AQIs of like 500 or so in Delhi. So I would imagine it would be similar in Noida as well. And this entire smoke just made me wonder, how is this still okay and how are the governments not working on it? Other than that, even people like in general during the winter months just burn a lot of wood and they just sit there very comfortably taking the heat of it, which I understand is very important for them as well because they need to keep their bodies warm, and it's probably the only way that they can afford it. But can we not really do something better about it? But yeah, I mean, just to go back to the whole air quality thing, it feels like it needs a deeper thought for sure. And I don't know if he was overreacting and if there is a need to bash him really, but frankly speaking, I don't fully understand the concept of don't die. Like, I just want to, sometimes I do wonder like how, and maybe it could be a rich people thing as well, I don't know, that you're so obsessed with not dying because I've seen Elon Musk also kind of talk about longevity and wanting to live forever, or figuring out how he doesn't age and things like that. But I don't fully understand the concept of don't die, but let's see what he says. So according to a recent article on people.com, it says that he takes around 54 pills a day and follows a rigid routine. I'm sure he follows a rigid routine. There are no two ways about it. Mic testing. Yes, we're back on. So I was just thinking, and I was just reading this article on people.com and my mic died, I'm sorry. But so I was reading this and I was just thinking about the story that Bryan Johnson told about how he got there and, how he comes from a, lower to middle class background initially. And when he was 19, he went to Ecuador to through his church, and he basically saw a lot of people who couldn't afford a lot of things and just how the kind of situations that they were living with. And then he basically said that, okay, I'm going to earn a lot of money and then retire and then use that money for the people. But I'm just wondering that doing all of these experiments that cost a lot of money, and of course he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire? Yeah, he's a billionaire and he spends all of this money and on researches, on, um, things that I don't know how is it helping a lot of people and people who can't afford things for themselves. I'm just trying to understand. I don't know. Help me understand. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. I've done a lot of rambling for today, but I feel like I want to gather this space to kind of talk about upcoming podcasts, movies, shows, etc. So please also drop in the comments what you would want me to talk about, and maybe we can discuss about it on the comment section, and we can keep this energy flowing. And yeah, that's all for me. And let me know if you would actually like clean air to be one of the agendas of our governments and our politicians to talk about it. And why are we not talking about it? We just got the results for Delhi elections, by the way. And was air quality an important discussion point in this election? It was not. I hope that it doesn't have to be in the next one, because I hope that we've cleared it by then. I don't know. I'm just rambling here. I'm gonna go and have dinner because clearly I'm hungry. But yes, leave in the comment section what you thought about this. What do you think about air quality? What is the air quality like in your area? What are your learnings? Do you wear a mask regularly? Do you feel the need to wear a mask regularly? And all of these things. And if you've happened to watch this episode by Nikhil Kamath, like the podcast where Bryan Johnson was, what did you think about Bryan Johnson and his philosophy of don't die? That's all for me. I'm going to say bye-bye. See you hopefully in the next one very soon.